Yo, what's up? So I decided that I'm probably just gonna mess around with the Soul Food today. It's a pedal that I like quite a bit, but for whatever reason I stopped using it. Mostly because I've been messing around with the Trident. And I've been using the Blue Cat Audio Axiom, which I managed to get for free recently. But I'm looking up there right now for it. I gotta find it. Here it is. There we go. The one thing that's kind of annoying about having all this stuff in one space is that like there's so many cables laying around. Like I got the XLR cable, I got guitar cables. Like I got so much equipment that whenever I want to set all this stuff up again, it kind of takes a hot second to like figure out where everything goes and whatnot. But yeah, with this setup, I'm probably gonna add some more pedals to it in a minute. But for now, we're just gonna settle for the Soul Food. Yo, so this is my setup. I got GarageBand. It's running through my my Focusrite audio interface. Using this orange amp, Shure SM57, as you can see there. Got the JHS black box there to make sure it's not too loud so I don't get evicted. And I actually decided to use the new XB8 because I love this thing. And I just love the wireless system, man. It's sick. I like using it a lot. And I'm also daisy chaining. I'm gonna daisy chain the pedals together because it's not really necessary to use a power supply in this kind of context, I realized, which is something that I pointed out in my other video. It's just you don't really need it, especially if all your pedals are modern. So one trick for setting the proper gain on your computer or GarageBand or Logic, whatever it is that you're using, is you hit record like that, right? And you go over to your guitar and you strum it. Then you have a look at the waveform. So as you can see, that's pretty much perfect, right? You don't want it any bigger or smaller than that. But in the case that there was something wrong, then you would dial down your gain or turn it up or turn it down or whatever it is that you needed to do. But that's basically how I do it. So something interesting kind of happened. I decided to set all these pedals up by daisy chain, right? Just with my amp. But for whatever reason, this pedal right here, this Delamo compressor, it responds very negatively to this. So as you can see, you can hear that sound, right? So I guess this compressor and the way it's set up with this, they just don't like each other because the moment I turn it off, it's done. There's no more issues. So it's either has something to do with the daisy chain or this specific compressor. It's something that I'll have to test on another day. So I actually couldn't help myself and I had to figure out what was going on here with the power supply and the B8 and the Delamo compressor. What I did is I connected my Voodoo Labs Pedal Power 3 to all the pedals, as you can see here, just to see if that would fix the issue with the B8. Now, it did help considerably because you'll notice it's not nearly as loud. It's not nearly as loud. But the issue still persists, and when I turn that off and I engage them with all the other pedals, however, so all these pedals are connected along with the B8, no issues at all, no sound. So it's just this little guy, and it's really a testament to the fact that cheap guitar pedals are not really your friend. You know, like while they may work, once you start adding more complications into your setup and sophistications, they end up causing problems in the long run. So I decided that I would try a different compressor then to see if the problem still persisted. So I chose the MXR Dynacomp instead, and I'm also using a different power supply for the new XB8. Now, let's turn it on. You'll notice that it's not nearly as bad, but it actually does still exist. Let me show you what I mean. So right now the output's cranked. If we crank the sensitivity, you can hear it a little bit. The problem does still exist, but it's not nearly as bad with a higher quality compressor. And I'm wondering if this is actually fixable with the new XB8. I wonder if it's even possible. On the other hand, maybe it's just compressors that amplify that radio signal or whatever it is, that Wi-Fi signal. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, so I don't know the scientific explanation for why that's happening. But as I showed you earlier, the problem doesn't exist with any of these other pedals. It doesn't cause any weirdness. It's just the compressor. But as I said, it's not nearly as bad when you use the MXR Dynacomp. By the way, if you're looking for something to practice, get my fretboard memorization cheat sheet from travelingguitarist.com/fretboard cheat sheet. What it is it's all the triads, the major and minor triads in every single key. We're through the octave mapping technique and through a couple other techniques, so you can actually just learn to memorize not only the notes of the fretboard, but you can also learn how to improvise in a bunch of different keys by understanding the foundation of harmony, which is the triads, right? The foundation of chords. You can also sign up to my forum at forum.travelingguitarist.com. There you can, chat with people about guitar and music and whatever else you'd like instead of the Delamo. So you know what we're gonna do then? We're gonna try a whole bunch of different pedals and we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna try it with the following pedals then. We're gonna try it with this one, this high gain, multi-variable, multi-parameter pedal. And we're gonna try it with the Nano Qtron. We're gonna try it with this compressor probably first, and we're gonna see what happens with that. And we're also gonna try mitigating the noise right after the compressor with this noise gate right here. I haven't even tried this noise gate yet, but it's very sleek and it's actually pretty high quality considering it costs basically nothing. So here it is with the Coco compressor, as you can see. And what we're gonna do with this one is we're gonna actually just crank first we're gonna turn it on, and then we're gonna crank the sustain, which is really just a compression, then the level and the attack. And as you can see, it's out of control. But I guess if we turn the compression down, the ratio, then it's not so bad. But still, it's not great. And really, I'm thinking this is in effect with all compressors then, because I've tried it with 3 different compressors now and it does the same thing. So I think it's just the nature of the effect. So now we're trying it with the Nano Qtron, as you can see here, and then I turn it on, and there's 0 problems at all, no issues, no weird sound. So it's definitely something to do. It's definitely something to do with just the compressor effect in general. But what we're gonna do now is we're gonna try it with this gain pedal, and then we're gonna see what that does. I'm gonna take a guess and say it does nothing. And then we're gonna try it with putting a noise gate after to see if we can actually fix this problem. So now we're trying it with the high gain pedal. And what's interesting about this is that when you hit the boost, you got no issues, right? No problems at all. Nothing, no issues, right? However, what happens when we turn on the distortion? Now we got serious problems. Now, not only do we have the sound of the new XB8, the weird radio sound, but we have like an actual radio in the amplifier. So obviously this is less than ideal. So here's what I did next. I put the distortion back in, and then I included this handy little noise gate in here as well. So now, let's turn this on. Obviously the sound is satanic. That's no good. But if we turn the noise gate on, we can pretty much take care of a lot of it, and then if we turn on everything else, barring the soul food, of course, still no issues. Let's bar it again. So yeah, putting a noise gate after that's definitely a great way to deal with some of this problem. I'm actually gonna go back to what we were doing before, and we're just gonna use a compressor instead, and then we're gonna see if we can deal with this problem, just that the sound of the B8 and the compressor. We're gonna see if we can deal with that with the noise gate. So like I said, we got the Delamo compressor back in there, and we got it paired with this noise gate, as you can see here. And so far, it's definitely working. It's kept a lid on the noise for the most part, but the sound of like the radio interference or whatever, it's definitely still existing. It's just not nearly as bad.